Okay, so I was lucky enough to recently catch an early screening of the new comedy thriller coming out, Bodies, 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 coming from A24. Now, we have already talked about and watched a number of A24 films in the last couple of years. They really are the studio for like your highbrow horror. It feels like basically what's the word for it there? Escalated horror, or escalated horror. There, they talked about in Scream 5, and that definitely seems to be the case with this studio, which is not a bad thing in the least bit because I've really enjoyed the films they put out on the horror genre. Like obviously. X has been one of my absolute favorite films of the year, so wasn't worried about it from that sense. But I didn't really know what to expect from this film because if you watch the trailer very much implies that something sinister is going on with this group of friends, but we're not really given the idea of just necessarily what that is. And Bodies, Bodies, Bodies tells the tale of 7 friends who get together who decide it's time to hang out for the first time in a while with all of them. One of their friends, played by Amanda Stenberg, Sophie, is just getting out of rehab and has brought her girlfriend B, played by Maria Barklova, to hang out with her old friends and catch back up. But as the night goes on, we find out that there are more secrets ready to rip this entire group apart, and that real feelings are gonna get hurt, along with maybe just a few bodies. And bodies, bodies, bodies. So, first of all, I would say that right off the jump there, this film has done a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of speaking to today's youth. And it kills me to say that sentence because I'm only 34 at the time that I'm recording this. Turned 35 in literally 8 days now. But I still consider myself part of like the younger crowd, even though that's what everybody says when they're older now too. So I know I'm not a part of this younger crowd. But the movie really does seem to appeal to today's youth, today's generation that's partying on social media all the time. They're taking up every single cause out there that there possibly could be. And for that aspect alone, I'm really hoping that this movie stands out and appeals to today's college crowd because it really is talking a lot about them. At least that's what I picked up from it. You know, Scream 5 was very interesting because Scream 5 turns out to be about toxic fandom and about the shitty things that people will do to get what they want when it comes to the things that they love. And that speaks incredibly well to horror fans out there. I feel like it's so well speaking to horror fans. But this movie does that, but it goes even up another notch, talking about all the things that the kids of today really find interesting and find captivating them these days. And I can't go too much into it, but what I will say is that the ending of this movie was one of the most satisfying endings that I've seen in quite some time. We'll come back to that. Now, the movie itself sets itself up that something sinister does have to happen because we can already tell when all these friends finally are together at David, who is played by Pete Davidson, David's house. We can tell that something's wrong. There's a lot of murmuring between all of them. You know, like, is this person supposed to be here? Is that person supposed to be here? There's a lot of devil gazes being like shot out to everybody as well too. So it's interesting because we can clearly see that, well, yeah, these people definitely tolerate each other. They'll definitely party together for sure. But do they actually like each other when it all comes down to it? And as the night goes on and different pairings are put together, it's hard to see like which of these people are actually friends. And I get it because it very much echoes or mirrors kind of like a new age reality show, like anything that's sprung up in the past 10 to 15 years here about like living that upper class, that rich lifestyle out there. You got money to use. You don't care about what the world is actually doing. You have the time, you have the money, you have the energy to basically say you're invested in all these random things that are going on. But in reality, are you really? Or is it just because you have the money and the time to do whatever the fuck that you want to at that point? we're shown that there's definitely some tension between best friends Sophie and David, Mandela Stenberg and Pete Davidson, and that Sophie, who had to go away to rehab, really just hasn't had a chance to reconnect with her friends at all for one reason or another. We don't know what that reason is. We can take some very, very big guesses earlier on the reason why she hasn't really kept up with a lot of her friends, but it stands to say that David has been negatively affected by it, and we don't know, was David always an asshole or not, but David definitely seems to have been negatively affected by Sophie disappearing into rehab and then suddenly showing back up. He's showing that, without question, he has probably dealt with the most out of all of Sophie's friends. And Sophie choosing to bring her new girlfriend B, again played by Maria Barklova, who you might recognize from Borat 2. I don't remember what the name of the sequel was, but she played Borat's daughter in the second Borat film. And B, unlike the rest of this gathering, comes from a working class family who's working to get everything that she has, to get any kind of money at all. She's not blessed like all the rest of these people, including her girlfriend and all of her girlfriend's friends, to where they just have all this disposable income to use for whatever. And the movie definitely shines a light on the fact that it's easy to act like you're invested in all these different things. Again, like I said, when you have the money and you have the time to do it. But that also means that, you got to have these higher thrills, because when you're like the rest of us who work all the time and don't have that kind of money and have to kind of help ourselves out, you have to find your own excitement. And that leads this group to playing this game, Bodies, 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 which the way it kind of works out there, it's a party game. The lights go out. Somebody is chosen to be a killer. They tap the person who they're killing, and that person has to die. And it's up to the rest of the group to find out who that killer is. Now, needless to say, based on both the trailers that have been released for this film, as well as what you can probably gather from it, you would think that this game really is the crux of the movie. It's the crux of everything that's going to go on. That, hey, as they keep playing this game, this is where more and more people are going to die. This is where the mystery is coming from. But, folks, you need to understand it's not that kind of movie. It is not a slasher. And you know me, I fucking love slashers. They are my jam. But this is not a slasher, and that's not a bad thing. I think the problem is that some of the marketing might not have been controlled by the creative team behind this film, and because of that, there's a different message, there's a different feel that's going out with this movie, for better or for worse. It's gonna disappoint some people because of that, because again, it is not a slasher at all, and I can't give out more details why it's not, but this is very much a murder mystery. And I know you're thinking, well, what's really the difference between that? Okay, so let's talk about it. So in a slasher film, usually that's going to be that somebody is actually hunting our characters. They're looking to kill them off one by one. There's some kind of reasoning behind it. Doesn't matter whether it's bullshit or not, but there's some kind of reasoning, whether they're in love with somebody, they're jealous with somebody, they are a long lost family member who didn't have the life they were supposed to have. It's revenge for the death or injury of a family member. It's something crazy along those lines. And usually it's involving them wearing some kind of costume or mask. They're brutally taking all these people out. They're luring people into a sense of trust where they're going to betray it later on. And sometimes there's taunting from the killer itself. This is not that kind of movie. There are deaths in this film. For sure. There's quite a bit of death in this movie here. But a murder mystery is more so about finding out why these people are dying. Like, what is the cause behind it? We're not really here. We're not really here to set up the suspense and tension of, oh, a killer's chasing them. Better watch out. There is a killer. There absolutely is a killer, for sure, in this movie. But that is not the point of it. And I want to make sure that I push that out there, because There is so much to enjoy about Bodies, 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 but I feel that if you come in expecting that you're going to get a scream out of it, that's not what this is at all. And that's even with a lot of the meta conversations that happen in this movie. Our girls, Sophie B, Jordan, Emma, Alice, they are very, very, very much a group of friends that you probably have or probably have overheard out of the bar at a time or two, talking about just everything you could possibly think of. And of course, when shit starts going bad, it's also easy for these girls to turn on each other and start revealing secrets that they never would have said any other time. And I like that a lot about this, because this movie does manage to keep you on your toes trying to figure out who could possibly be behind all the mayhem that's happening at David's house. And some of you are going to walk in with an idea ready to pinpoint right away just based on who's in the cast. And not a bad idea, but this movie goes incredibly deep with it. And I love, as the movie goes on, we get to see more and more a bit of Sophie kind of breaking down, because when she arrives, you know, like, this is her first time with all of her friends again in quite a while at this point. So already you could tell that there's a bit of nervousness there, that obviously she doesn't know how welcome she's feeling in the group anymore. So that's deep in her head. And then we soon start to see that, well, she's not insane for thinking that, because it doesn't seem like a lot of her friends are that excited for her to be there. But then, as things keep on going, we find out that it's not just Sophie, that certain friends don't like other certain friends and think they're stupid and talk about stupid things and bring up stupid stuff. So the night is really peeling back layers of a lot of these friendships and showing how these girls really do honestly feel about each other. And that's great for a horror film, because you want those personal relationships that make it harder for characters to like leave, like when they get killed. You know, that's actually like that sucks at that point, that we have to lose that character. But not only that, it then puts up more of a curiosity of who's ultimately going to be behind everything. And I mentioned the ending is rewarding. I very, very much loved the ending of this movie, because honestly, it was the most logical explanation for what set off the course of events over the night without it being crazy. And we talk about that a lot in horror films, and not necessarily just even slashers, which again, this is not a slasher, but we talk about that a lot in horror films where somebody has to be revealed as, you were behind this. And a lot of times, like, you're trying to connect the dots. Like, okay, so when they were there, you were there and doing this, but doing that. And sometimes it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And Bodies, 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 again, for me, it had one of the most fulfilling endings I had seen in recent memory, because it just made sense. Of course, this is the reason why all of this shit was going down. And I absolutely love that fact about it. Now, in terms of scares, there's not that much in this film, and again, that's okay, because it is not a slasher, where the point of slashers a lot of times is folks jumping out of passageways and, you know, snatching folks up and secret kills. Like, that's not the point of this movie. And if you can ignore that, then you can just kind of get into the atmosphere and really, really enjoy trying to figure out what ultimately this movie is going to be. And it's interesting, because, you know, my wife and I saw this, and she mentioned how a lot of the movies seem to be running in real time, at least for like the first half of the film, and then obviously it speeds up super, super quick. And it's true, the movie itself only about 95 minutes or so, and it's over the course of one night. That's all it is the course of one night with all of these friends. And I would definitely have to agree, thinking back about it, is that the first half of the movie definitely seems to be running in just normal time at that point. But then as shit starts happening, things start to unfold, things definitely get sped up. And they have to, because we have to get to a resolution sooner than later. And a lot of this movie is really just hammering the point home that a lot of times people make situations much worse than what they truly are or what they truly could be, if you just take a step and think logically and rationally about what is actually happening. And so that's all I will say, because I don't want to push too big of a spoiler, because the movie's not even actually out yet. It comes out on my birthday. August 12th is its wide release. But I can't say too much there, but I want y'all to know, if you watch this, just don't jump to conclusions, because that's what a lot of these characters do, and that ends up screwing them in a number of different ways. If you get immersed, that's fine. That's the fun of the movie. But if you're trying to work it out, don't jump too deep into it there. You might get a better idea of what's really happening here. Now, acting wise, and it absolutely loving the cast, because the movie itself, I should mention, is fucking hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. It's gonna go over the heads of a lot of age groups. I think that anybody, that a lot of people over the age of probably 45 or so are gonna have some issues understanding a lot of what's being said in this movie. I'm just gonna be real about that. But if you do get it, if you do understand what our characters are saying and what they're doing, you're gonna have a blast, because it really is incredibly fucking funny. And I know, again, it's interesting because Pete Davidson is very much an actor who I feel a lot of you are like, look, he's either fucking terrible or he's hilarious. And he's really, really good in this. The rest of the cast is incredible as well, too. You know, I've already talked about Amanda Stenberg and Maria Barklova, but Lee Pace is in it as well, too. Chase Sewell Wonders. The cast is great, being kept small. Everybody that's in it is pretty much an integral part of this story, pushing things ahead. There's not really anybody who's extra, except for maybe Max. But beyond that, everybody is integral to the plot itself, and that means that everybody has to put on their best acting chops. And we get really, really, really well done acting here, to where, especially, I want to say it's Rachel Sennott who plays Alice. Fucking love her. She was so good in this movie and had me cracking up, especially towards the end. Like, it was like every 20 to 30 seconds she had something new to add to the conversations going on. This is like, goddamn, girl, like I couldn't be scared if I wanted to, because you just have me fucking dying right now. So good. So good. And it's also very much because we're talking about a younger crowd, of course, and, you know, parents are gone, we're partying at our parents' rich house there. There's a hell of a lot of sexual tension in this film as well, too. But I'm not gonna say, I like that, like, it's normal. But I do enjoy the fact that everything was so fluid in this movie as well, too. And I mean in terms of, who's flirting with who and who's with who and things. I enjoy that because, again, that's very reminiscent of this age group and real life, to where, well, there's not so much boundaries. A lot of things are very, very open. And that seemed to be a running theme in this as well, too, because jealousy absolutely comes up with a number of different characters, which, again, serves the point of making you wonder who could really be behind everything, because there's quite a few jealous and angry people in this film. So, you're going to want to check it out. Again, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies has its wide release in theaters August 12th, which means we could probably expect it on streaming and on video by mid-September. But do yourself a favor, check it out in theaters. That's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Hey everybody, I appreciate you checking out this video, whether it was a review, whether it was a new episode, whether it was an unboxing, an interview, or whatever else. I want to remind you can check out my separate reviews also on my YouTube page, and new full episodes go up every Wednesday night on YouTube at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and on your favorite podcasting platforms at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and share. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.